Hi, welcome to another episode of TakChek or PekChek.
I'm Weiren.
I'm Nicholas.
And together we are an education lifestyle podcast where each week we take a topic and discuss it. And at the end of the podcast, we decide whether or not it is interesting, which is
TakChek
or frustrating, which is
PekChek.
Right. So for today's episode, we're going to be talking about cheating because there was a article on the Straits Times which covered why students cheat during exams and what parents can do to deter them. So this just brought to mind all the cheating incidents that we have encountered as both students and teachers. So Nicholas, maybe you can share for yourself, right? Have you ever encountered any instances of cheating while you were, or maybe you yourself are the cheater?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest to say the very classic things here in primary school. It's very classic. And I think the incident was a bit comical because I have to liaise with someone like, hey, can you do this, then maybe at recess I plunger you something, achieve something. But it turned out that I did better than the person for the things here.
you wait, so you're the person who helped the
No, I was
cheater?
the person who got help.
You're the person who
Yeah, I received help instead from that. But actually, what about yourself? You have any incidences that you...
So for the listeners of this podcast, right, I think the listeners should know that for myself, my school experience has been quite colourful. All right, I got suspended, I got thrown out of class, all sorts of weird and wonderful punishments, eat the chalk and things like that. Yeah. But I'm very, very proud to say, never once have I ever cheated in an exam before.
Is things here considered an exam?
Now you ask me things here, I personally cannot remember, but I don't think I cheated because I never needed to cheat for things here. I can memorize my things here is okay one.
Okay. But you know, in SAB mentioned over the past 5 years, there was actually an average of 12 cheating cases annually.
Yeah.
And 0.01% of candidates across all levels, I'm talking about PSLE, N level, O level, and A level, there are average of 12 cases annually. I mean, if you weigh the total number of cohort and just 12 cases, it seems like a rather small number, right?
Yes.
But I think these are 12 cases that got caught.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
it's not 12 cases that are the only one that's happening.
And to top it off, right, this is just the national exams. But can you imagine, like, during the school time, people may decide to cheat during the prelim. So of course, prelims don't have any real bearing over your direction in life later on. But I do wonder what drives people to cheat, you know? Because at the end of the day, when you sit for your national exam, it's going to be a lot more stringent. And if let's say you get caught, right, the risks are humongous. Right? So maybe you can enlighten me on why you think some people are driven to cheat.
So psychologically itself, I wouldn't say that there's a single reason as to why cheating is actually being attributed to. All right, so there was an experiment led by a French economic professor, Gilles Grolieu, in 2016, which found that the fear of loss is a stronger driving force than a potential gain when it comes to cheating. Now, this is rather interesting, all right, because in this particular experiment, he did this series of mathematical puzzles, all right? I do not know the difficulty of the puzzles, but he set two kinds of criteria. Now, one of which, if you get the puzzle solved, you earn a certain sum of money, as compared to if you were also asked to solve correctly, but now given the maximum amount of money, but in this particular scenario, if you get an answer wrong, money will be deducted. All right, so it is actually not so much of the, hey, this time around I can get the maximum amount of money that costs me to want to cheat, but rather I'm worried that my money will get deducted. That's why I want to cheat. You understand this? So the first one here is that you are doing it just getting normal amount of money.
Yes.
Right? The second one is you are doing it, each question that's correct,
So
you get max amount, but if you get it wrong, your money will be deducted.
Okay.
So it was that fear of loss that actually drive, because in this case here, it shows that the participant facing that potential loss was twice as likely to cheat than those that is earning money for their work.
To be honest, I will be more likely to cheat also.
So negative marking hurts you more
Negative
than...
marking, yeah.
So in this case over here, if we put it into a very Asian kind of context, I feel like if you generally, I belong to the crowd of students that generally do pretty decent for normal examination. But once it comes to big examination, I tend
national,
to
yeah.
have a rather large variation. So I wouldn't consider myself to be high achiever, lah, but a high achiever who cheat because they fear they are not making it to their preferred school or course. All right, and this will induce anxiety, and that anxiety translate to I need to do something. So the call to action here is either I study very hard, or I just have the impulse to want to commit to cheating. Yeah. So what about also students who struggle academically?
Yeah.
All right, and it's more about I don't care that I'm not doing well, but I have someone to answer to, my parents who have devoted resources like time and money to help to cultivate me into a better person. I need to make sure that the grades that I get
Justifies, yeah.
Yes. And at the end of the day, there are also those who are underprepared for examination, but yet do not want to let their parents and peers know. So this one totally didn't put in effort, but just want to wing it and want to do it well enough itself from there.
Okay.
And also, this is very much attuned to my lower secondary student. They fear that if they are not doing decent enough, they will get privileges being suspended. So phone usage, internet usage, as well as going out with friends. These are some of the reasons I can think of. What do you have anything to add for that?
But what is very perplexing to me is, don't these students understand the consequence if let's say they get caught cheating? So of course, if let's say they fail an exam, sure, like maybe their phone is confiscated or whatever. But if let's say they actually do get caught cheating, for myself as a parent, right? If let's say my son comes back to me and then says, or my son's teacher calls me and then says like, oh, so and so was caught cheating for an examination, right? There will be a much heavier consequence compared to if let's say he just came home with a poor, maybe if they came home with a poor examination result, I'll just tell him like, oh, okay, yeah, let's try harder next time. Let's figure out what
let's put things in perspective. If we break things down into groups like primary school students, secondary school students, and junior college or tertiary education student, of course, I think that when they are younger itself, the consequences of getting caught cheating, I think it really overwhelms the kind of whatever potential gain that they can get from cheating. All right, so that is a good enough deterrence. All right. So undeniably, as a passage into secondary school as well as tertiary education, you have to be a little bit more pragmatic, because now they will think that they can smoke the system. They will think that I have a particular rubric that allows me to have my cake and eat it. I can cheat, and so long I don't get caught, I live with it. So maybe one time they do it and they didn't get caught, it bolstered their confidence that I can continue to do it again. But I feel like the advantages, like what you say, because we are always a bystander looking at someone that's potentially cheating, we will think that, hey, you shouldn't do this because of consequences like that. But I think it's also the standards that they are trying to live up to. And maybe when pushed to a certain extent, they might think that, hey, this is the only result that I have. Let's just give you an example. If tomorrow is a geography paper, okay, you haven't studied at all. 24 hours of geography, mugging, or whether it's history or chemistry or biology, it just can't get you to be optimal to do the examination unless you are prepared to flunk. And again, if you have always been doing pretty decent and now I'm going to have the A, tomorrow you're going to get F9 because you did not study at all for whatsoever reason, I think you will feel like, no, I have this particular facade that I need to live up to, and what else can I do apart from either I ponten the paper, I ponten the paper, or I cheat during the examination itself from there. Yeah.
But I think from a national exam perspective, what are the consequences if you do get if you do get caught cheating?
There are actually, maybe you can walk us through that.
Okay, so basically, if you do get caught cheating, obviously there'll be investigations that take place. Okay, so the candidates will be involved. Witnesses and examination personnel will also be involved. I believe they'll be there to testify whether or not they actually saw you cheating. Okay. So depending on the severity of the case, the consequence may range from imposing grade penalties. So basically you get a lower score, as well as bad as termination of the entire subject grade. And you may be banned from future exams. And if let's say it's really that bad, right, you may be reported to the police for investigation. Okay, so for a case that warrants termination of a subject grade, then this will be indicated on the result slip. So if let's say some JC or some poly is trying to look at your transcript, right? Just basically they'll say that, oh, okay, this person got terminated. This means that this person has poor character. I don't want to take this person, right? So it reflects very, very badly on the person. So my again I'm still very perplexed. Like, why do people actually have this? They feel that they can cheat the system and then end up cheating in the examination and think that they can get away with it.
Okay, I give a slightly off tangent example.
Yeah.
I don't think this example is I don't think most of the listener can be empathetic to the example, but NS, National Service. Alright. So I use National Service as an example. Now I wasn't the fittest of them all, but in my National Service before we can book out on Saturday or Sunday. Alright, they will have us go for a mock IPPT, individual physical proficiency test. Alright, and during this test itself, there was a certain standard that the Incheck, which is the warrant officer, will say, you don't get this, you can book out, but you book out at the later batch. Alright, so I remember the one that I fear most at that time was pull-ups. Pull-ups. This was the OG IPPT. So to get a silver standard, which was the best standard that was being placed there, I think you need to do around 8 or 9 clean pull-ups.
Okay.
8 or 9 clean pull-ups. So what we usually do is that we will have a partner that will be counting out loud.
Yeah.
Now you can't...
Or the partner just count up, right?
Correct.
Even if let's say substandard, then the
Correct.
partner will count up.
So at that moment there is more of like, hey, I will pack up with the partner. Hey, later when you do, right, I will just count you. Anyhow do, I will just give you the counter. But then that is actually the whole intention of cheating already over there. And now you are colluding with someone. But actually, what's the gain? The gain there is that you get to book out
earlier. Yeah.
Okay, but what's the loss? The loss is if the Incheck that day he feels like he's not on his best mode, you were gonna sign extra lah. So at the moment, do you think that's worth it for you?
Yes, because I think that the consequence is not so terrible.
Yes.
Like, you ask me to sign extra, I think can tahan. Like, if let's say you're able to bear the consequence, I think okay. But I don't know.
But this is a very slippery slope, because if doing that particular activity and you're okay because the consequences are not big enough to deter you, then that, answering back to your question, could be the students think that the consequences of me being barred for future examination, having a T on my transcript to show that I'm being terminated, is not big enough for deterrence for them. And this is one of my main worries, because the goalposts in the society, they keep shifting. Like, they'll just say that, hey, maybe in the 60s or 70s, if your academic grades are terrible, I think it spells a certain degree of doom, because that is my only way to move up socially up, But now maybe they could have said that, okay lah, if I'm not going to go with studies, I can go with the other routes.
To be honest, last time in the army, right, I also have the same problem as you. Okay. I couldn't pass one station.
Which is?
Standing broad jump.
Okay.
Unfortunately, that one cannot cheat.
No, you can pull the mat when you jump. You cannot pull the mat when you jump.
Okay, let's take a look at several high-profile cases that actually happened in Singapore. So I'm not sure if you remember, a number of years ago, there was this particular tuition center that actually helped 3 O-level students or 6 O-level students, and they basically strap listening devices to the kids, right?
Okay.
And essentially, the tutors tape devices to the students, and during the exam, another tutor set as a private candidate used FaceTime to live stream the question paper back to the tuition center. Then the tuition center will answer the question and then beam it over to the students.
Okay.
But wow, to be honest, I think this is damn bold.
No, but for them to have this particular modus operandi, right, it will feel like the time that they were being caught, it was probably not their first rodeo already, right? They probably did it a couple of times already, right? Yeah. So the rouse that you mentioned was actually uncovered when an invigilator heard very unusual electronic transmission sounds coming out from there. Yeah.
And voices as well, right?
All right. And I think the culprit, the perpetrators, was actually sentenced to a few years jail.
Yeah, I think this is more of the adults lah.
This feels like it could be a sort of like a bait and switch kind of thing. I bait you come to my tuition center. I promise you 100% A1 regardless. Then after that, maybe leading up towards the examination, I'm just prepping you how to be a covert agent. It's because they are using things like Bluetooth devices and this was in 2016. And the most outrageous, they use skin-colored in-ear earphones. So it's the whole camouflaging. I really want to
This is
conceal.
very elaborate. Like.
Yes.
This
yes.
is really, really very elaborate. I'm quite impressed that they actually managed to pull this off for a while.
Eventually, this kind of cheating actually goes up towards a higher rung of society. If I talk about the 2020 case about lawyers cheating during the online bar examination, does
my
that ring a bell to you?
No, actually, I'm not familiar with this case.
So, in this online bar examination, I think this becomes a problem we're going to discuss again later. Anything that is online and digital in nature. But these 11 trainee lawyers itself communicated with each other and shared answers in 6 of the papers through WhatsApp. And some asked for answers to be shared. Allegedly, it's because they have lack of time to complete the paper. So it's a very like Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V, just copy and paste kind of thing. And some was this one was actually a little bit more serious because we are talking about calling to the bar and giving your lawyer's license.
Yeah.
And the penalties were some was prevented from bringing fresh application. All right, for a period of 9 months to 3 years. So if a practicing litigator, a practicing legal counsel have such a background, do you think it shines and casts a very big shadow on their integrity?
Yes, of course. Of course, you're my lawyer. I want to be able to trust you.
Yeah.
Like if you can't be trustable in all these kind of like your own daily life, right? Then how can I trust you with like the legal case that I have?
Exactly. And I just always find it perplexing, but I'm going to link it to something about this podcast. But have you ever been to HDB void deck where people park their bicycles? Yes. And there's like locks and everything.
Yes.
So there was many moons ago, me and my spouse walked past this HDB estate. I'm sure people were parking and chaining up their stuff, but there was a huge mirror in front, above where the bikes are being. Now I'm thinking, why do you need a mirror? I'm thinking the perspective of someone that's going to shackle my bicycle. I was like, why do you need the mirror? And the mirror is not even looking at the bottom, So at first I was thinking, is it because they want you to have a good back view in case someone's trying to mug you? Alright, but it's not. So later on, when me and my spouse went back and we just Googled and everything, it's actually for culprits who want to steal bicycle to look at themselves first before they steal the bicycle. So that it casts that particular, am I really doing this particular act of stealing bicycles away from there? The reason why I'm saying about
this, they go the
is
self-respect route.
Exactly. They were like, you look at yourself first. You can live with that face of yours that you're mugging a bicycle. Then sure, you will go and take it. So this is why I'm talking about this example as before every examination, I'm always very perplexed why there are examiners reminding you at every juncture, it's an offense to cheat. If you cheat, this is what will happen. And we have invigilators. I'm telling you, I got 10, 20 invigilators. Like, why do they need to inform the students about that? Are they assuming that the students will cheat? Then this kind of relate towards the mirror example. Because when you're going to cheat, you're probably at that fence of like, this is socially wrong, but this is the gain I can get. So maybe you're at the tipping point, but perhaps all these little warnings help to push you towards I should do it myself. That kind of idea here. Don't cheat. People are walking around. You are watching you and everything. So having this kind of like social warning to deter.
I personally feel that it will work for a good number of students. It will work for most people, but there are some people who really just don't care, right? Like, yeah, sure, you catch me, okay lah.
Because I'm prepared already.
Yeah, I'm prepared already. Like my self-worth already is like this little already. Then what more do I have to lose, right? So for people that are like that, then I think the deterrent or using this as a deterrent is not going to be particularly effective. So if let's say you're really, really very, very hard up for cash, right? Then you see yourself in the bicycle.
You still take.
You still go and take what?
So basically the mirror or all of the advisory on there's invigilator walking around, these are very prophylactic, right? Yeah. So preventively, if let's say we're talking on the student level, do you think that the parents could play a much more preventive role from that?
Yes, of course. I think the first thing that's important for parents to do is, number one, be open with your kid. I think this is more of if the students feel safe about their own struggles, about their own fears with regards to examination pressure, then I think this will severely reduce the examination, the pressure to do well and to eventually cheat. And of course, as parents, I think we shouldn't set too high expectations, right? I think a few podcasts ago we were talking about like tiger parents as well. So I do feel that if you know your kid, for me personally, my standard is it doesn't matter whether or not you do well, you do poorly. What matters is that you grow. So I'm not a set this objective standard kind of person. I'm more of I adopt more of a growth mindset. So you can get whatever grade that you're getting, but what's more important is that you do better the next time. You do better the next time. Just small steps. So I think that's important, and that as a parent you set realistic expectations. And of course, like what you mentioned, like educating about the consequences of actually cheating. All right, especially the long-term impact, not just about getting caught. Okay, about you having gaps in your knowledge, and let's say there are a lot of like YouTube videos on like, oh, you lied about you lied on your resume that you can speak French or Japanese or whatever, then basically the person speaking nonsense. So I can very easily imagine this kind of thing happening next time.
But you see, my mother, when I'm young, she spammed me with assessment book, right? But she, unlike some of the parents that I know of, she doesn't remove the answers as a back. She places it over there. She just say, hey, today you watch your TV, but by the time I come back, you need to do from page 10 to page 20, something like that. Alright?
Copy the answer.
So, I'll be honest, there were moments that I know that I did not copy the answer, but there were moments that I was so tempted to just flip the back, and because it was MCQ, it was just like A, B, C, D, and wing it and everything. There was that. So, my concern here is, do you place using this analogy of the assessment book answers, do you as a parent remove the answer so that the temptation to cheat, to take a shortcut is not there? Or you put it over there as a meter of test to see whether is your child going to take the easy way out, and from there help your child to foster self-control?
I wouldn't put the answers there as a honey trap lah.
Okay.
My idea here, for me personally, I think I will remove the answers, but I will give the answers back to my kid if they want to check.
But you see, this is a dilemma. I removed answer because I think my kid will cheat. Then this is a little bit unhealthy, because you know that when given a chance to play cheat, your child will play cheat.
Yes, but I shouldn't put it as a honey trap either, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the dilemma over here is like, if I don't place it, then that's because I know he or she will cheat. But if I place it, then I'm trying to entrap the person into...
Yes. But I suppose at the start, you can take it out first. Then after a while, once you are confident that your kid has the right values with regards to approach, or at the very least is aware of what it means if I cheat, then for me, I'm okay to put the answers.
But actually, if this example was mentioned maybe like 20 years ago, it would be relevant. But now the students just take picture and upload to ChatGPT. No, because I think that technological hygiene is also a pretty important stuff over there, because I will have to teach my kid to harness tools at their hands. So I'm just going to use ChatGPT as an example. Harness the tools to help them to prepare, but not harness the tool to help them to cheat. Itself from there.
So nowadays there are all these very, very sophisticated like math solvers. So you write an equation, right? And then essentially you take a picture
and they'll
solve it for you.
They can graph it out for you also, right?
Yeah, they can graph it out for you. And I personally feel it's amazing. Right? But,
so if all this itself, do you think that there are also certain kind of adoption to the language that we can talk to our kid? We word it in such a way that it's more encouraging rather than it's more stress-inducing. Like things like, I can see that you're trying your best and your effort is what matters more than the results. If you ask me to say that to my daughter, all right, I think my daughter now, she's young, it will be very encouraging. But I want to talk about this here because if, let's say, my daughter now is in JC1 and she has been flunking examination left, right, up, down, and I say this particular phrase to her, will she feel that it's more encouraging or is it more sarcastic? Yeah, you know what I mean? So I can see you're trying best, but effort is what matters more than the results. But then you've been consistently getting U grade.
Yeah, but this goes back to the foster an open environment and communication point. So if you've always been sarcastic to your daughter, right, then I think eventually your daughter will have this
Thinking
idea,
that you're being sarcastic.
Yeah,
right?
exactly, right. So I think it becomes important for your daughter to know that, hey, yeah, like daddy or mommy is being serious here, right? And
But
daddy and mommy have my back.
But do you think this whole cheating in academic thing is very ingrained in high pressure society whereby it's culturally something that doing well in examination culturally prove that you are a worthy person?
Yes, but I think not just Singapore, right? We have other places like Japan and China as well. So I believe in Japan there was a case of a man trying to use smart glasses to cheat on a Waseda University entrance exam. Right? I feel that this is quite ingenious actually.
Okay.
This person used the smart glasses to take pictures and posted it online to solicit answers.
And this is what live on the spot.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
I believe so.
Uh-huh.
I know that in Japan, right, it's very, very competitive to get into certain universities, right? And they don't have one standard examination, not like Singapore. You take one single A levels, and then the university will let you go and
So you have to go
decide,
for each of the
you have to
universities.
go each of the universities that you want to shortlist to. Then after that, they will give a certain entrance examination, right? And I think in China as well, I'm not sure if you are aware the Gaokao.
Okay lah.
Yeah, the
It's
famous
the
Gaokao.
lah. Yep.
Personally, I've seen some of the Gaokao questions, the A level equivalent of the Gaokao. I think this is for the high school kids. It is not easy. It is super duper difficult. And even the English, right? And I personally feel that my English is quite okay one. The English is difficult. It's even harder, I feel, than because I did the SAT and I did the GRE, the graduate record exam, and these are US based papers, and I can say the English was tough. I feel that Gaokao is harder.
It's tougher.
Yes, tougher.
Okay.
Yeah, so the English is and personally I feel that it's a little bit detached from actual like academic language because it's very the terms that they use is very, very, very difficult and very academic. But I believe in 2015 to 2024 11,000 people face penalties for organizing, cheating, selling test answers, or taking exam for others. And this is in the context of China.
The Gaokao.
Yeah, for the Gaokao. I can understand because the universities rely heavily on your Gaokao scores. And if let's say you do well for your Gaokao, then it will determine your whole future. You get to good university, you're going to get good job, good connections, and yeah, you're basically set for life. Right? So I do understand, and China is such a huge place as well. The competition is intense.
Very stiff.
Yeah.
But this is where things becomes a little bit interesting. So there was actually in Shandong, all right, one of the province of China, there's actually a scandal of identity theft, whereby
this is a different way of cheating.
Yeah. So I don't know are the officials part of it, because whatsoever was that a said high achiever, did the Gaokao, sending a paper, he or she was slated to be a very, very good scorer. All right, but what happened after that was it when this particular person got back the results was trash, like trash. And so much so that this person actually becomes a migrant worker. Yeah, so if these papers was already sent to the officials, so it could have been the erosion in the system was actually much more deep-rooted, because maybe back at the back, they were manipulating results. I can just take your identity number and just swap with the results. Depending on how the papers was actually being conducted, was it like an optical answer sheet or written paper, but it's just a simple swap of the results. And as what you have mentioned, this Gaokao thing is actually the ticket to success and upward mobility. You flunk it, then your life is pretty much going to be a little bit much more underprivileged for the rest of your life from there. So even in India itself, there was 2.4 million students who took examination, all right? And all this was more than 100, they were competing for this 100,000 seat, but 2.4 million took it. This 100,000 seat was for state-run and private medical colleges, all right? So also high stakes. And through that, funnily, there was an unusually high number of students who got perfect score for the examination. So sometimes if everyone copied, but they never used this particular term of same but different, then everyone get the same score, right? It also trigger a particular avalanche of questioning, because like, why these people who was supposed to be a good filter turns out that it cannot be just like a normal distribution. You are probably gonna have people on this tail end and that tail end. You cannot have everyone to be focused on the perfect score tier itself from there.
India is also another very high pressure place, right?
Very
because
high pressure
population is large,
Yes.
and you only have a few like places for doctors or lawyers and
Exactly.
whatnot.
What about other countries that you know of?
Okay, so Korea as well. I think more than 90 students, 83% of them freshmen and sophomores at Inha University School of Medicine in Incheon were found to have been taking advantage of remote learning arrangements to cheat on online examinations. It's always the online examinations,
yes,
right?
the online
Very-
provides.
yeah. So students organize themselves into groups of 2 or 9 to solve test questions together, and then they share their answers online. So some students, like what you said,
The
the same but different.
Okay.
So students intentionally answered some questions differently to avoid being detected, but they got caught
And
nonetheless.
anyway,
But I must say that sometimes, right, you do this same but different thing. Sometimes it backfires, you know. So I remember there was one time in university, there was this particular lab, and I was really running very, very late, and I was supposed to be taking data. It's a physics experiment. So what I tried to do, because it was super duper late already, I wanted to go home, right? I tried to fabricate the results.
okay.
So I took the results. I remember I was supposed to measure the magnetic field or something. So when I fabricate the results, right, I introduced in some randomness, some measure of randomness to say like, oh, okay, yeah, the results are up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. But then when I actually came back, right, to do the experiment, the result is actually perfect one.
Oh, so
So actually,
it backfired.
yeah,
It
it backfired.
backfired.
The result. Yeah. I want to flip the script a little bit. So we've talked about from the student's perspective, we've talked about the parent's perspective. But what do you think we as teachers can do to combat cheating?
For us in tuition center itself, I feel that the pacing of how we teach, and because we have a little bit more fine tuning, for the tutor side of things, we can try to identify students who have issues with a particular topic and triage them earlier, and then provide help and intervene earlier. But truth be told, here is still a very two-way thing. We can provide, but the students have to, in some degree, reciprocate. You know, hey, you come back for this extra lesson. Don't think of it as like a punishment per se, but thinking of it of trying to put a band-aid much earlier before the wounds becomes gangrene from there, you know. So because already in school, I can understand that if, let's say, fundamentally students have problems with a particular topic or subject, because I'm in a very huge area here, I wouldn't probably want to ask in class, because then you will think that I'm a lousy person. You know, you will think that I'm not as smart as you are. And also, if things snowball in school, eventually it becomes so humongous that you can never get an approach your tutors anymore. So maybe in a tuition setting itself, I don't know the person that's seated beside me in the class. Probably I don't know them. So I think there is less of a social impedance to want to go up to a tutor and ask questions itself. But it's still a very character kind of things. And it rolls back towards, at a very juvenile age, how does the parents foster a very encouraging environment? If let's say the parents will always like whack you because you don't do well and everything, it brings on the whole idea that my self-worth is very linked to the scores of my examination from there.
Personally, I feel that from a school perspective, I do think that teachers should set less content delivery sort of question. I think, let's say, for example, if you're talking about lower secondary bio, for example, lower secondary bio is very, very like
Information dense.
information heavy. So you memorize the information already, then basically just regurgitate the information. But let's say you compare this to upper secondary, you're the bio expert. So upper secondary bio, you need to take that information, you need to process it, and you need to write out something.
Yes.
I think if you set more questions like this, then I think it becomes a lot harder for students to cheat, right?
Yes. Instead of a vomiting style kind of question,
Yeah.
it's more of a processing and adapting
Yeah,
kind
so
of setting.
if I feel that schools, what they can do, and this is my suggestion, have more open book examinations or allow students to bring in a cheat sheet, right? So if you a cheat sheet, like basically it's legal cheating, right?
Yeah.
So if you allow students to bring in a cheat sheet, then the students have all the information at their fingertips already, right? But then, as compensation, you set the questions in a more like like the students need to do a little bit of processing and need to do their own thinking in order to answer the question.
So this by virtue just means that you are examining the students on their ability to look for the correct information, right?
Yes.
And not processing their ability on memorizing and delivery.
Yes.
Yeah,
And not just looking for the correct information, but also processing the information and inferring what the question wants from that entire database that they already have in their hands. And getting students to prepare cheat sheets, I personally feel is a very, very
Helps them
fantastic
to
way.
revise as well, right?
Yeah. Last time when I was in university, that was how I studied. So before every major examination, I will prepare a cheat sheet. Right.
But having said all that, whatever we are talking now is assuming that exams are still very physical in a venue itself from there. And just want to bring in the whole point here that because of COVID and there was a catalyst for digitization, examinations now, whether we like it or not, whether it's for convenience or whether because of the lack of physical resources in school, could also be conducted online as well. And once you have this whole online item over there, the alibi that you are doing the exam is just the camera and the microphone. That is my alibi, but that's just from my chest up.
Yes.
But from my chest down, where my hands are, everything.
Yeah, and then off the screen, you may have like 2 or 3 different
Exactly.
screens. So, like I said, if let's say we do more questions which are open book, I do feel that cheating in this particular aspect, the content-based cheating will decrease lah. But I think now with AI, maybe writing essays, right, it might not help with the writing essay aspect. Another student may have like on the side of the screen, like open ChatGPT and then essentially copy and paste the question.
Exactly. And I think this it warrants another podcast to really talk about how AI and education, like I feel like there's been a lot of instances that AI could be helpful, but it could also impede.
Go the other way, right?
We should probably talk about that in the days to come. All right, so cheating itself I think it's going to be here to stay, and I think that the methods to cheat will just eventually become more sophisticated because there are many tools at the disposal of our students, and we cannot deny the fact that students are getting more resourceful,
tech savvy, right?
And tech savvy. Yeah, this is not student of our time. This is student of this time, and I think that when our kids reach our age, I think they're definitely going to be more savvy as compared to all of us. Yes. So do you feel that today this whole cheating conversation is a very TakChek or a very PekChek?
To me, this is a very PekChek thing because as a teacher, I always have to think about how do I prevent my students from cheating, right? From coming out weird and wonderful ways. And I think in the past, really it's just a matter of very ego-eyed invigilation. But now there are all these other ways to cheat, right? There's ChatGPT lah. You can use like in-ear devices like that particular tuition center, the skin-colored in-ear devices, and all of this as technology progresses, like listening devices become smaller and smaller and smaller and more concealable, and cameras also nowadays become smaller and more concealable as well. So I think this is like a never-ending battle that we as teachers have to keep fighting. So personally, to me, I think that this is a very big thing.
Big thing. For me, unfortunately or fortunately, I think it's a very TakChek kind of a topic because I view of education as well as students taking exam, I view of these two entities as like an arms race. So I'm interested in the evolution of things because in biology, we'll say that there's this particular theory called natural selection. All right, so people who has a skill set that is adaptive enough to a current environment, they will be able to adapt. Right, so my interest over here as a biologist is that I have this perpetual issue, which is I want to do well for the examination. So that is the selection pressure. But students and any education providers that equip the kids well, it could be you're just trying to thrive in the environment over here. And thriving over here could be in the sense of you are really, really preparing yourself in a way that is correct for the examination or doing the cheating itself from there. But in all kinds of biological systems, there's always an outliers, people who attempt to cheat their way out, trying to run the system from there. So I think it's very interesting because if we detected this particular sort of cheating methods and all, then how does the education system combat? And I feel that in the long run, if you take a step back and look at it, I think eventually things will get very much more optimized. We will try to make an examination style that will discourage students from cheating, which is like what you mentioned, which is the open book, a cheat sheet, and also trying to make questions more processing heavy rather than regurgitating from there. Yeah. So for our listeners out there, I mean, if you're a parent, if you have engaged in all these illustrious adventures during your school days, we would like to hear if there's any of this and what were the consequences itself from there. And also for students, if you're listening to this, what are some of the sentiments that you have that potentially will drive you towards the dark side of you wanted to cheat to perform better rather than to do things legitimately from there. All right, thank you.
Thank you.